So here's the thing about Katherine Mayfair from Desperate Housewives. Definitely not one of the most popular characters from this show, and yet I found myself completely enraptured with her journey and development as the seasons went on. There's many within the fanbase who feel that her time after season 4, when she was introduced, ruined her character, but I honestly found myself really enjoying the highs and lows of her arc, especially considering where it ends in season 6. Though she spends a lot of time as an adversary to one of our main characters, I still ended up rooting for her, and I credit that to the great writing for her character in this show. Katherine isn't introduced until season 4, so rather late into the show's tenure. We'd already had a few mysteries, a few new housewives, new tragedies before her, so it would take a lot to generate interest and intrigue, as well as a sufficiently complex mystery. And boy, did they deliver, because Katherine's backstory is among the darkest we encounter in this series, one that is uniquely grounded in reality that is frightening to think about. Her husband, a respected police officer who was also an unrelenting alcoholic, repeatedly physically abused her. Not uncommon for police officers in this country. Domestic abuse is more observed in families of those officers than the general population. That might piss some people off, so I have linked my source in the description below, though of course I doubt those people would care at all. But seriously, the situation is so realistic and terrifying, and they present it so exceedingly well, showing how these officers are able to manipulate the system in their favor. They know what resources these victims are referred to, where they need to go for help. They have connections within the department to lessen the impact of accusations, and can even control every aspect of the investigation by simply throwing away the paperwork. Katherine spends years with this man, fearing for her life, her safety, her daughter's safety, and there is absolutely nothing, well, nothing legal, that she can do about it. This poor woman spent so much time looking around every corner with unease, wanting to believe that things might be able to be different next time, only to have Wayne Davis ruin his promises to change and hurt her all over again. It's not unrealistic for people in domestic abuse to want the relationship to work out, to try to give those people second chances and think that they deserve them in the hopes that there might be a beautiful relationship down the line. It's really tragic. But eventually, right when she tries to run for good, one of her very few options in this scenario, he ends up intercepting her before she can, starting another screaming match that will clearly lead to violence. But Katherine, fed up with this cycle and having already made the decision to finally get the hell out, decides to strike him back to defend herself and her daughter, successfully repelling him away for the night, at the very least. Unfortunately though, tragedy had really already struck by this point. In an effort to retrieve the doll that her father bought her earlier that night, Katherine's daughter Dylan tries to climb up a dresser and causes it to fall down on top of her. I assume that this happened during the loud fight between Katherine and Wayne, which is really the only way no one would have noticed that sound, because by the time they do eventually enter the room, her hand is described as being ice cold, so she had clearly been under that dresser for a while. Horrific thought again. I mean, this is just straight up gruesome, and an image that never really left my mind. And even though Wayne didn't lay his hands on anyone this night, he still has a hold over Katherine, as she feels that she can't even go to the police and properly report, bury, and mourn her daughter. So her aunt helps her bury her in the woods. But Katherine, for a long time, can't really recover from this. It's so tragic that the culmination of this conflict with Wayne resulted in such a frightening and unexpected outcome. And the worst part is that Katherine likely, at least partly, blames herself for this. I think that's why she really goes so far to adopt a child that looks exactly like Dylan and pretend that she never actually lost the baby, introducing her as Dylan to everyone. She really just wanted to move forward and kind of forget it ever happened, pretend things ended differently, better. She really loses touch with her true self, her identity, her past, which is something that many women have reported after repeated physical abuse. I mean, Katherine is one of the reasons why season 4 is my favorite of this entire show. Her presence within the group was such a unique flavor, and I felt that she added a lot to their dynamic. When she begins, due to her secret and all the pain that she's gone through, she's very closed off and distanced from reality. She's found a new husband, but honestly, he doesn't even really know her at all. Katherine is able to tell him about Dylan's death, but implies that it was all at Wayne's hands, and that She had no part in it. But even after finding this new life, she still can't escape betrayal and heartache, as her new husband cheats on her with a patient of his, though Katherine doesn't find this out until later, and when the woman threatens to sue him after not committing, he urges Katherine and him to settle and move to escape the scorn. So after all of this turmoil, all of this upheaval, Katherine has become a bit of a control freak. Understandably. I mean, every time that she has looked for comfort, for stability, it has been violently taken away from her, so now she tries desperately to take control of every aspect of her life.
I love this street.
Yeah, you keep saying that. How happy you used to be here. But ever since we've moved back, all I've seen is an unhappy woman who needs to control everything.
Well, we've both learned what happens when you lose control.
Reining them in constantly to ensure that there are never any surprises or betrayals, despite the fact that that is not realistic or possible. And on Wisteria Lane, this ends up making her a few foes initially, with her switching out Bree's pie for her own, running for the Homeowners Association president so viciously against Lynette and campaigning so hard against a treehouse and a fountain, challenging Gabby's intentions at the charades party, even becoming estranged from her daughter as she works so hard to cover up the secrets that her aunt now wants to reveal for her own conscience before she dies. She's rather forthright, and from the outside simply seems to be this perfect woman who inserts herself and takes over everything she's a part of because she feels that she could do it better, when really inside, Katherine is just terrified and yearning for something stable, anything that is safe. But to everyone else, she seems frigid, cold, and holier than thou. And as they begin to discover that she has secrets, she really only grows more out of touch with the neighborhood. Really, over the course of season 4, the only close friendship she's able to keep consistent is with Bree, and it's not until later in the season either. Even Susan, whom she knew for years before she left, states that she feels Katherine has changed and is too distant now to be an actual part of the main group. There are moments where the true Katherine shines through, allowing Lynette to keep her treehouse, telling Bree she thinks they could be close friends, and genuinely respecting her, accepting Bree's love and understanding during the tornado. I really understood why she was sectioned off and so protective though, more so than many of the housewives that had been guests on the lane prior, especially after she learns that Adam actually did cheat on her and lied about it. Like, seriously, this woman just cannot catch a break, and every close relationship she has falls apart in front of her face. It is so understandable why she would clamor to have control over every aspect of her life after these repeated betrayals. But unfortunately, even with all of this controlling behavior, Katherine's world completely unravels anyhow. Wayne is able to locate Dylan after they return to Fairview and finds his way back to Katherine as well, eventually learning that Dylan is not really Dylan and capturing Katherine to threaten the information out of her. The finale of this season really shows how strong Katherine is as a character. She puts her life completely on the line and refuses to tell Wayne anything that he wants, even coming up with some excellent plans to throw him off his game. Not to mention that she had a gun ready to straight up kill him herself if it came to that. I mean, even though the universe in this scenario practically hands Wayne everything he needs,
it's like the alibi fairy left me a present.
She stays on her toes. She shows her conviction and how resolute she can be after she made the decision to leave this man behind for good. Really, it shows how much the situation has changed her, molded her into this different woman, as she says.
I'm a different man now. You have to admit that that's possible.
Well, maybe you have. I have. I'm not the same woman you knocked around. The woman you punched, choked. The one whose blood you licked off your knuckles. She's gone. So you'll just have to prove you're a man some other way.
It's definitely not a good thing, but she definitively has become stronger because of the time that Wayne has abused her. And she is now willing and able to stand up for herself and isn't even really that afraid of Wayne, even when he's standing right in her face with a gun to her forehead. Unfortunately though, like I said before, God is kind of a dickhead to Katherine in this episode, and he's also able to get a hold of Bree without anyone noticing. And because Katherine is unwilling to sacrifice somebody else's life, which is, when you think about it, pretty amazingly brave brave of her, because the whole reason she's keeping this secret is because she knows Wayne is going to kill her when he finds out that Dylan is actually dead. So she's basically giving her own life here so that Bree can live. Katherine finally tells the truth, admitting the reality that she has been refusing to verify for years on end. She has to face that death for the first time in front of anyone besides her aunt. And we can see how emotionally taxing this is for her, because like she says, she has never admitted that to anyone. She's never said it out loud. But then the women of the lane accept her anyway, rallying around her and making sure that the police cannot spin what happened against her, protecting her and showing her that there is a community here for her, something that she really hasn't felt in a long time, even after she shot Wayne. I really don't think she had any other sort of choice there. I mean, Wayne's final speech really cements how terrifying a villain and how realistic he is, that he is willing to do even a little bit of time, but knows how many friends he has and that he can game the system, that he will be back again, that he will never stop doing this. I mean, what else is she going to do? It's basically self-defense at this point. But it's still surprising for her that after all this distrust and lying, somebody is able to understand what she's going through and straight up lie to the police to keep her safe. It is so comforting for her to have people really come to her side for the first time. And thus, she finally stays in one place, not having to run from the past anymore. Everyone around her knows exactly what happened, who she really is, and still accepts her in their friend group. This is where she's really able to become a part of the lane and the main friend group in general, joining them for poker, going into business with Bree, helping Karen with her investigation of Edie's new husband. I mean, she even straight up packs up her life and moves in with Bree when she finds out that she relapsed to help her. She puts everything into her friendships and truly shows herself to be a very caring and compassionate person once you're able to journey through those thick walls that she keeps up on the outside. But she does struggle with one thing: loneliness. She's got a great job, but her daughter isn't around anymore. Adam is gone, and she really does want someone to love. I mean, she's had 2 marriages at this point. She thought that both of those would be the end of the line for her, that she would have someone right by her side for the rest of her life, and they were both completely upended. It's natural for her to want to search for comfort, someone who is steady and consistent and willing to stand right by her side, even though she also has those friends to keep her from being completely lonely. As Bree tells her, Bree is really part of her family at this point. But eventually, she is able to find that in Mike. Honestly, I kind of liked these two as a couple, even if I thought the decision to break up Susan and Mike after the time skip is stupid. Probably because Dana Delaney has great chemistry with, like, any scene partner. I mean, seriously, she could, like, make the scene work with a potato. And I enjoyed watching Katherine slowly open up to Mike and grow closer to him, as we've never really seen her kind of vulnerable in a relationship that way before. We've only seen the aftermath of it. But unfortunately, there is still sort of a distrust between them, as Mike is clearly not over Susan, and Katherine can kind of sense that. Already she's overly concerned about this relationship and its future, and this man seems reticent to make any sort of commitment to her. I can't imagine how much that pains her over this period of time, and how much she just wants him to simply say that he wants to be with her. And in the end, she's really only proven right, as just before they go to get married and start their life together, Mike leaves her behind and goes to Susan's aid. Now, that is totally fine, right? Susan and MJ were like about to die, so Mike definitely had a reason to go, but after he saves Susan, he decides in that moment to be with her, kissing her and effectively ending his relationship with Katherine without even breaking up with her. I mean, come on. That has to be one of the worst timings for a relationship breakup and get back together that I've ever seen in media. And after this huge loss of a man that she really thought she could finally trust and open up to, someone she personally felt that she connected with, she starts walking down a very dangerous path. We've already seen Katherine's propensity for falling into a surreal scenario in season 4 with her pretend life and new, nearly identical daughter that she wanted to keep in the dark about her true identity. She is, as we saw, willing to kind of fabricate what her life is to make herself feel better about her choices, about where she is. So in this season, she's really struggling to believe that Mike just on a whim, left her for Susan after he insisted over and over that he was done and had gotten over her. I know that this is a big we hate Katherine season because of how predatory she is on Mike and antagonistic towards Susan, especially with the whole gunshot thing. Like, believe me, I also got frustrated with her. But I think a lot of people should consider just how fragile she might have been after that period with Wayne and how insanely weird Mike's leaving was. It's honestly tragic for her, and her only coping mechanism is kind of to secretly believe that Mike still loves her. Because again, the relationship never had any sort of natural conclusion. And not for nothing, Angie Bolan does not fucking help, stoking the flames and feeding straight into her delusions. I know she didn't really have any other choice there and was just protecting herself and her own secret, but it still does wonders to further this false belief and propel her mental illness even further. Like, somebody else confirming your delusions is going to absolutely send you further down into them. And I feel that this eventually should have been addressed, but they didn't really have enough time. Eventually, after her belief that everything is still fine, she endangers AJ, Mike's son, from his perspective, and then is told that Mike never actually loved her as retaliation, which is really the final straw that shakes her to her core. She straight up asks Mike to kill her there, and when he refuses, she stabs herself, blaming Mike in public. But to Dylan, her daughter, she blames Susan. All these lies, these different fantasies in her head that she's had to keep up to protect this wonderful life that doesn't really exist, kind of start to cross and contradict with one another, crashing down on top of her all at once with terrifying intensity.
He's away on business.
No, he's in jail. You told the police he stabbed you.
I never said that. I told you, Susan attacked me.
Then why did the police arrest Mike? Susan's his wife.
It's ridiculous. Well, who told you that, Susan?
No, Mike. Did you stab yourself?
You don't understand. Susan trapped him. Filled his head with lies. This is gonna save him. He knows the way I did it. He wants this. What is she doing here?
I want to help you, Katherine.
Causing her to lash out and attempt to run out of the hospital, screaming and panicking. It's so hard to watch and really did a lot to explain why Katherine was acting so extreme throughout the first half of the season. I mean, she is really vindictive towards Susan and downright malicious at times, and I think this moment does a lot to show you that she is just genuinely mentally unwell, because after she begins treatment for her mental health, she clearly sees things very differently than she used to, and it shows that she was in a terrible place rather than that is an actual aspect of Katherine's personality. It's an aspect of her illness. And luckily, the women of Wisteria Lane go out of their way to show Katherine that they do really care about her. What they said after season 4, them lying to the police, it was not a fluke. They are willing to forgive her, move on, and try to rebuild their relationships. Even Susan, who, you tried to imprison her and her husband. But I think the best and probably my favorite part of Katherine's arc comes in the latter half of this season, where we're introduced to Robin. Completely without any sort of effort on Katherine's part, she becomes rather close friends with this new resident on the lane, even accepting her as a roommate when she moves out of Susan's house, and eventually develops feelings for her against her own intentions. I don't believe when they refer to her as a lesbian in the show that is a correct term, as clearly she has had real feelings for men in the past, and bisexual was not a term that was largely used on television at the time. But when she does actually examine whether or not she could like Robin, she finds that there is a side of herself that she never explored. And I really like how textured they do this storyline with how much Katherine struggles with it. She goes back and forth between thinking, maybe I was just drunk, maybe it's just a one-time thing, maybe I don't really want to be in a relationship with her and it's just sex. And after all of these individual analyses, she discovers that she is genuinely attracted to and romantically interested in Robin, and though she struggles to admit that this huge change in her identity has come later in life, she eventually is able to accept it, moving away off the lane with Robin to Paris to live happily ever after. And I loved that ending for her, for Katherine to be able to take this chance on Robin, to be able to believe in her emotions and take that leap into faith after being betrayed so many times is such an important part for her arc. After all these years she spent afraid, sheltered, pretending, here she is examining the deepest parts of herself, not flinching away from the truth, and going after what she really wants. I was so insanely proud of her. And of course, again, Dana Delaney is an amazing actress, and her and Robin had some incredible chemistry that I was like, oh my god, these queens, please stay together forever. And you know what? I never do this, but we're gonna pretend that Katherine doesn't show up in the series finale. I actually skip that scene every time. This part is so detrimental to her arc and is such a poor writing choice, in my opinion, that I literally don't even consider it canon. It is that bad. I don't know who in their right mind would think retconning the entire storyline of season 6 would be a good idea, but they are a complete and total idiot. I can't believe Mark Sherry would even allow this to happen. He's a gay man. How do you not understand how detrimental this is to representation? Clown shit. Sorry, but this pissed me off so badly. What we do is we just pretend that they got back together after this episode. Katherine is just a little confused at this point. So anyway, Katherine lives happily ever after with Robin in Paris. She starts a successful business, doing what she loved, and she's able to realize her own happiness after all of this emotional turmoil. The end. But aside from this huge mistake right at the end of her arc, for the most part, I feel that Katherine is a really well-written side character that I found the journey of very satisfying and honestly one of the best parts of the later seasons. Really, her arc does a great job to show the effects of domestic violence and how it can truly shape a person's emotional state, how they approach relationships in the future, their sense of self-esteem. But because of the ending with Robin, it also demonstrates that nobody is doomed from our experiences. And as terrible as this time may be, Katherine is able to move on and form healthy relationships in the future. We aren't only our damage. This show explores it in such a detailed and realistic way. I was thoroughly impressed with how they handled this storyline, and I felt that Katherine over time, even though I understand why people would feel that her character was ruined by her being so mentally unwell, I do think the storyline was handled with enough grace after the giant, the breakdown and subsequent rehabilitation, that storyline does actually work in terms of Katherine's emotional journey. But of course, this is just my opinion. Let me know if you disagree in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/PosiTVty. That's PosiTVty. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but thank you so much for being here. Everyone on Patreon gets the videos a little bit early, but I appreciate the support on YouTube a lot. It really does mean a lot to me, and it helps me continue doing this, especially when there are so many negative comments telling me to stop. But I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much, and keep recommending videos for me to make because you guys honestly give me my best ideas. And I will see you for the next video. Remember to be kind to someone. You never know what someone's going through, okay? Give someone the benefit of the doubt this week. Think about that for a second. And I will see you for the next one. Bye-bye.